Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand on tour again tonight. But first of all, let's just say what a day it's been with Paul Pogba and Manchester United, and we're going to be talking about that tonight, as well as Manchester United pretty much officially backing Jose Mourinho. So if anybody's wanting him out of the club, pretty much been reported that that's not going to happen. They're leaking it out again through the credible sources like Simon Stone of the BBC, that why would they be looking for Zidane when they've got no job up to offer in the case of Jose Mourinho. But let's start off with Paul Pogba. If anybody saw my video this morning on my channel, Mark Goldbridge, where I sort of just let myself go a little bit, I was very, very disgusted with Mino Railoa and also with Paul Pogba, very disgusted. But you know what? It's like after a bad result, you know, when you start thinking about it, it's like, you know, there is. The issue for me is the way it's been handled, the way that Pogba's used Raiola, who I don't really like, as his mouthpiece, and I think it should have been handled the way that I think Anthony Martial's agent handled it perfectly. Love the fans, love the club, but clearly there's an issue with the manager, and I think it's the same thing with Paul Pogba, and I would love to have seen it released that way. But I don't like having a pop at a legend in Paul Scholes. For those people who've had their head under a rock today, basically Mino Railoa issued two tweets this morning. One where he said that Paul Scholes wouldn't know a leader if Winston Churchill was in front of him, which is just ridiculous. I mean, this is what happens when idiots are in charge of football, because there is absolutely no way that, you know, Paul Scholes has played with Roy Keane, the best leader there is. So that was an idiotic comment, and Raiola just makes himself look an idiot. And then the second comment was maybe Ed Woodward should sell, have Paul Scholes as his director of football and sell Paul Pogba, because then that way would allow him to, have sleepless nights, which he was being sarcastic. I mean, Matthew McFadden's made a comment there. Thank you, Matthew. He says, Pogba has to make the biggest choice of his career, United or Raiola. Can guess which one he will side with, and it won't be the right one. Look, I want your opinions. I want your comments tonight. Which side are you going to go with on this, Paul Pogba or Manchester United? But what I would say is that let's just pretend that Mino Railoa isn't an idiot and hasn't put out those comments, and he'd actually put out the same comment as Anthony Martial's agent. So let's say Mino Railoa says, look, Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United. He doesn't want to leave Manchester United because he doesn't love the fans or he doesn't love the club, but he can't work for this board or manager. It's embarrassing, and he can't work here anymore. What would your response be? Because my response would be not surprised, very, very disappointed as a Manchester United fan, but I respect Paul Pogba for telling the truth. And I think that is sort of where I am. I'm sort of split on this. I think Paul Pogba, like Matthew says, has got to come out and condone what Mino Railoa said. At the end of the day, if he loves the club, anybody who loves Manchester United would not have a pop at Paul Scholes. All Paul Scholes has said is that Paul Pogba is a player that plays one good game in four. And in a United shirt, that's 100% true. You can't deny it. And he said that, you know... But I pretty much think that Paul Scholes said 2 days ago, I'm, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm pretty sure Paul Scholes says 2 days ago that he did, in fact, sit down Mino Railoa. He did say this because Paul Scholes said a couple of days ago that Paul Pogba had been given the captaincy straight away. He did say that, because I bet if you go through the @UnitedStand MUFC Twitter account or @Mark Goldbridge, I put a tweet out saying, I really respect Paul Scholes, but this is an example of him not getting it right all the time. Paul Pogba, when he came to United, was 23, hadn't played in the Premier League. I would never have given him the captaincy. So I'm guarantee that Paul Scholes said he would have given Paul Pogba the captaincy when he first signed him. So what is Mino Railoa even on about? You know, not only are you disrespecting somebody who speaks a lot of sense, you're actually lying about him. He didn't even say that. Pogba has just shown a sheer lack of respect to his teammates and United fans, allowing his agent to say that, so I'm now Pogba out, says the big pupster. I think that is the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. It's the fact that this Paul Pogba has allowed this absolute cretin in Mino Railoa to represent him, and the silence from 8:30 until we've had 12 hours of silence from Paul Pogba. Now, I'm sure if he had a little dance with his brothers, or him and Lingard had a new handshake, we'd all be subjected to that on Instagram. And I ain't got a problem with his Instagram or Twitter, by the way. I don't care about that. But you've got your agent putting out a statement like that. If you were embarrassed by it and you didn't agree with it, you would be all over it. Absolutely all over it, like Mino Railoa on cake, denying it, saying that's not true, that isn't true. But I think the big question is, and I want to go through lots of comments tonight, but I think the big question as well is how, he hasn't denied it, he's done it. How do you resolve this issue? What would you do as a Manchester United fan to resolve this issue? Would you sell Paul Pogba? Would you keep Paul Pogba? What would you do? Because my stance is, and I'm not going to mess around. I mean, Stourport says Pogba out. Sunil says sell Pogba. Pogba out. Sick of defending him, says Mac Dons. Trevor Evans says sell Pogba. A10 says Pogba sell. Christoph says no player is bigger than the club. Not Sir Bobby, not King Eric, not Bex, not Cristiano, not Wazza, not Goldbridge or Tony. Sell him. I added Goldbridge in there for the bants. But you know what? I'm going to go against all those people there. Do not sell Paul Pogba. That is my message. Do not sell Paul Pogba, because if we sell Pogba, we can't replace him. So that's one thing that's bad for Manchester United. But also, if we sell him, we give him what he wants. We allow him to coward. And there is an element of cowardice to this. I said this morning. There is a real element of cowardice to this. Mino Railoa is a coward because he's actually lying about Paul Scholes and doesn't understand. We give him £25 million for the Pogba deal, reportedly, and he's disrespecting our club. Don't come near Manchester again. And Paul Pogba is a coward because if he wants to leave Manchester United, which is what a lot of people say is true, then he needs to come out and tell the truth. Don't allow your agent to put fake lies out about one of our club legends who is actually only saying what most fans are saying anyway. That, for me, is disgusting on the part of Paul Pogba. And what he says about hashtag Pog feelings, hashtag up yours, Pogba, because at the moment you are hanging by a thread with many Manchester United fans. You can still come out and correct this. Come out and correct it. Say, look, those comments don't reflect how I feel at Manchester United. I am unhappy. I'm not happy with the manager. Well, I don't care about the truth, but what I don't like is this nonsense of having a go at Paul Scholes, which is just disgusting when he's only saying what fans feel. And Pogba's lost a lot of friends there, but I tell you what, don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into the trap, because I tell you what Paul Pogba is trying to do. He's trying to make you dislike him. He is trying to make the club sell him. There are still 10 days left of the La Liga transfer window, and he is trying to make his position untenable at Manchester United without directly having the balls to say he wants to leave. He's allowing his agent to put crap out like he has to make us turn against Pogba so that the club will sell him. And maybe even Mourinho likes that. Maybe Mourinho wants to sell him, I don't know. But I tell you what, we can't replace Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is our best player. On his day, he is our best player. Now, he's not on his day enough. Paul Scholes is right. But he's still our best player. Do not sell him, because it makes us a worse team. You know what? If we sell Paul Pogba, you're going to see more of Fellaini and more of McTominay. Is it worth being morally right? And I put this to you, and I'm going to read some comments on this. Is it worth us being morally right as fans to get rid of a player who was treated as badly, so we can go, no one's bigger than the club, and then we can spend the rest of the season watching Fellaini and McTominay in our midfield? I think morally that's a very, very, very good stance to take, and I applaud people who want to do that. But if you want to talk about morals, look at who owns our club. You've got Americans who don't support the club, who bleed us dry every day. Are we stopping going to games for that? Are we saying we're not buying shirts for that? No. So why do we want to kick Paul Pogba out of the club? Because he's unhappy with Mourinho and he's put some rubbish nonsense out through his agent to force a move. The reality is, Paul Pogba's not happy at Manchester United, probably for very justified reasons, and you must remember that. I think the way that this has been handled is a joke, and I agree with Matthew that Paul Pogba should be coming out and condemning what Mino Railoa has said. I don't think he will do, because I think he's part of those messages going out. But the reality is, if Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United, he hasn't just suddenly decided, I want to go to Barcelona now. He wants to leave Manchester United for the same reasons that Anthony Martial wants to leave Manchester United, because the club is a joke. We're run by businessmen with a manager who's got no idea what this club is about and wants to make us play like Sam Allardyce. I can't blame Pogba Martial for wanting to leave the club for that, because you know what? If we weren't Manchester United fans, we would probably be desperate to leave as well. But we, our supporters, are always going to love the club, aren't we? So we're not going to go anywhere. But from that point of view, it's very, very important that you grasp. Well, I sound like I'm being condescending to you, but it's very important to grasp the different sort of areas of this. Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United because he and Pranny is right. This new transfer window is a joke. It leaves us in a ridiculous station. But no, Manchester United and Paul Pogba, the reasons Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United are probably totally justified. We can be hardcore United fans who just hate it when players want to leave our club, but let's be honest. Look at what's happening with this club. We're not winning the league. We are going to continue to play crap football, and the reality is that players will. Paul Pogba's just won a World Cup. Why should he? In all fairness to Paul Pogba, he probably looks there and goes, Marouane Fellaini could do my job. You're not, there is no difference between me and Marouane Fellaini in a Manchester United shirt at the moment, because the tactics that Mourinho is dictating, all it requires is somebody who can keep hold of the ball, move it slowly, and stand in a zone. There's no flair involved in that. So actually, we wouldn't probably miss Pogba that much, but I can understand that. But I agree with Chingland, don't sell Pogba. To me, Anthony Martial is my favourite player at Manchester United and has been for a couple of years. Paul Pogba, I like Pogba, but I do think there's an air of an arrogance to him which I don't like, and I can't stand his agent. But I like Pogba. If you were asking me the question, would I get rid of Mourinho to keep Pogba and Martial? Well, I'd probably get rid of Mourinho just to keep Martial. So I would certainly do it to keep Pogba. Will the club do that? No. The board at Manchester United, as much as I hate to say it, because from a business point of view they're very good, you look around social media today, you look around a lot of journalists, and they are like, none of the big clubs, Barcelona, Real Madrid, AC Milan, Juventus, PSG, even Manchester City, they would never have what's going on at Manchester United at the moment. Denying ridiculous paper stories about Pogba and Mourinho's rift last week, which, to be honest with you, I said to everybody was picking on Neil Custis, saying, oh, it's a load of nonsense. He was probably right. And, the club can't come out and deny this today, because you can deny a journalist story, but you can't come out and deny an agent of a player stirring the pots because they're desperate to get out. Paul Pogba was desperate to leave Manchester United. That's how it appears, isn't it? Paul Pogba wants to leave Manchester United. But what I've said all summer is, for all these people who say there's 80% chance it's going to happen, there is zero chance it's going to happen, because Manchester United don't have to sell Paul Pogba. I think what we're seeing now in the last 10 days of the transfer window is a desperation tactic from Raiola and Pogba to try and force this deal through, to try and force him out of the club with 10 days to go, because he is desperately unhappy at Manchester United. And as I said, I understand why he's unhappy. A lot of United fans are unhappy, but you can't do what he's done. Mad Marcus says, yes, it is right, because it shows unity against these cretins. So Mad Marcus saying that, yeah, we should get rid of a player like that. I, to be honest, don't think we should sell Paul Pogba. I think, I'd rather see him stripped to the captaincy and thrown in the reserves. I think that's how you deal with that sort of behaviour. And I would be happy with that. I don't want to see Pogba and Raiola. I don't want to see Raiola getting another big payday from Barcelona, and I don't want to see Pogba getting his own way, running around in a Barcelona shirt for the rest of the season. I'd rather lose his wages and just keep him for a season. I really would. George Kyle says, this is exactly why Wayne Rooney wanted to leave in 2010. He knew the Glazers were leeching scumbags and the club was in a downward spiral. What a comment that is, because remember, Rooney got a lot of stick for that. Paul Scholes is a legend, you dimwit, says Ritwig. I don't believe I've said anything other than that, so you're the dimwit if you're having a pocket at me. Sav says we need new owners, and Sam Howe says he needs to go. Manchester Skulls 18 says Pogba and Martial, after 2 seasons of public criticisms from the gaffer, omissions, etc., those bridges are burnt. They won't bust a gut for him anymore, which is true, which is why I think a lot of people are saying, well, really, do we want to sell Pogba and Martial to keep Mourinho? Do you want to do that? Is that what we want to be doing at Manchester United? I don't know. I mean, I throw that open to you and see what you say. I mean, just to keep people up to date with that, there was a story from ESPN yesterday saying that Manchester United have got no interest in Zinedine Zidane and Jose Mourinho retains full backing of the board. That has also been reported today by Simon Stone in the BBC, who is very, very good. I'm sorry to say that the bottom line is that Jose Mourinho better turn this around at Manchester United, and whether he can or he can't, I'll come to in a minute. But Jose Mourinho better sort this out quick, because if he doesn't sort this out, Manchester United aren't a sacking club until it's too late. We don't sack till it's too late. David Moyes should have been sacked 4 months before he was and given somebody a chance of getting top 4. They didn't sack him till top 4 was gone. Van Gaal should have been sacked at Christmas. We waited till May until top 4 was gone. If we'd got, and Van Gaal only missed out on top 4 by goal difference. If we'd got a new manager in January, i.e. Mourinho or whoever was available then, we would have got top 4. That shows you the absolute incompetence of our board. They judge everything on a calculator. They will not sack Mourinho until it is physically impossible for us to get top four. And the reason for that is because it's cheaper. Mourinho will have it in his contract that if he doesn't get top four, he can be sacked at a far lesser rate. If they sack him tomorrow or before top four's gone, they'll have to pay 12 million. And this is the problem with Manchester United. We're run by businessmen and it's all about the bottom line. So Mourinho is never getting sacked as Manchester United manager until we've not got top four. And if we don't get top four, we're in for another season of Europa League football with a new manager playing Thursday, Sunday in Mission Impossible. And I don't want to. I'm still not over what happened on Sunday. I'm still massively confused about what's going on at Manchester United. And the question, I suppose, is, can Manchester United turn this around under Jose Mourinho? And as I said last night, look, I wouldn't sack Mourinho yet. I'd wait until the second international break. But I do think Jose Mourinho can grind out top four. But then I think, well, how can he grind out top four when he's lost the players? He's lost the dressing room. It's so obvious he's lost the dressing room. And if you've lost the dressing room, how can he turn it round? I mean, James Howe says if the board, Ed, continue to see us continue the slippery slope of losing, imploding, like what happened to him before at Chelsea, then what? Well, look, now is not the time probably to get rid of him, but it's getting close to it. And Joseph Young says Pogba is a 25-year-old being paid millions of dollars per year to play football. For the fans, he needs to put down the attitude, ego, work it out with Jose and play with his head down. I agree with you, Joseph, but I also think it's a very... somebody just called Pogba a disgrace there, which I do agree with. I think the way that this has been handled is a disgrace. I understand why he's unhappy, but I also think that how can Jose Mourinho turn this around? How can he turn it around? We can back the manager, but how can he turn it around? Because the players aren't interested in him. They don't respect him. They're not bothered about him. And also they don't like the tactics. So it's not like they can just get their head down and play good football. They're playing for a manager they don't like, and he is a manager that's just not what they want at Manchester United. They don't want to play for that style of manager. So you're always going to get them where, and I think this is the problem. I think when we play a decent team, they'll turn up. They'll turn up against a team like that. But when you play Brighton, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to park the bus against Brighton, and they switch off. I think that's the problem at United. So it's a really weird situation, and it's a really difficult situation to sort of understand how we're going to get through this, because you've got a board. I mean, to be honest, let's be honest, it's a nightmare, isn't it? You've got a board who won't sack a manager till we don't get top four. You've got a manager who won't play the way United want to play, and United, what United are all about, and he's ridiculously stubborn. And then you've got players who don't want to play for the manager. Well, it's not rocket science to say this is going to go wrong again, is it? Of course it's going to go wrong. But how... I said this last night, I will say it again. I wouldn't like Gary Neville to be manager of Manchester United, because I don't think that maybe that's what he's all about. But I would love Gary Neville to be our director of football. I would certainly love Gary Neville to be on the board of Manchester United, because he's a very astute businessman. He knows football, and he knows Manchester United like the back of his hand. That's what Manchester United need. The reason the class of 92 constantly come out about the style of football, and ex-players come out about the style of football, is because we're so far away from Manchester United, it's ridiculous. We're more like Stoke City. That's what we are like. We are more like Stoke City. We've got under Pulis, but that's the sort of mentality we've got, and it's certainly frustrating. And I don't have the answers at the moment. And some would say I never have the answers, but I don't have the answers at the moment, because I can't see this getting any better. You either need the board to go, which isn't going to happen, Mourinho to go, which isn't going to happen, or you lose your best players, which is probably more likely, which I think is really sad. I think it's really sad. Verb plural, I think Gary Neville is a very astute businessman, yes. I think what they're doing at Salford is very, very good. I think the way he speaks as a pundit is very, very intelligent. And I think as somebody on the Manchester United board is exactly what we need, because he knows what the club is all about. The answer is to sack Jose Mourinho, says Breach69. Would sacking the boss stop Pogba from being a diva, says Sugar Bertie II. Well, it might not. It might not. But it would certainly stop us playing rubbish football, wouldn't it? The big question is, did the players play that way on purpose, says Paul Lucas. I don't think the players are playing badly on purpose. I don't think that. If we lose the Tottenham game and we are fourth during Christmas, would you still keep Mourinho, says Saga Patnick. It's irrelevant what I would do. It's irrelevant what you would do. If we are still in with a chance of top four in January, February, Christmas, March, whatever, the board will keep him. Only when it's impossible will they sack him, because that's the way our idiotic board think about things. We're not. I mean, to be honest with you, I can tell you, and most of you will know this. Chelsea, maybe Manchester City as well. They have been ruthless in the past. Certainly Chelsea. Obviously not Arsenal. And Spurs and Liverpool probably irrelevant. Liverpool might do it as well. If you've got a manager who's not playing the way that your club's meant to play, who's lost the players, whose targets for transfers are so bad the board aren't going to back him, you'd be on the verge, and you're losing games in the season, you'd be very much, especially at Chelsea and Man City, you'd be looking at the sack. At Manchester United, he's safe, and he knows he's safe. The club should have done everything to get Pep Guardiola, says Sean. I'm not really bothered about Pep Guardiola. He's Manchester City's manager. That's not our next Manchester United manager. Doesn't concern me. Miguel Garcia says, how is Jose saying that he has full support of the board, but we only make one signing during the transfer window? So who is lying to us, says Miguel Garcia. Well, that's a good point. That is a good point. It's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Snakes and ladders. Winning comes first, not the style, says Sandeep. I disagree. I support Manchester United. I support Manchester United all my life. Manchester United is a club that's not just about winning. It's about a style of play, and it goes back to the Busby Babes. We have a responsibility to play a certain way of football for a very, very big reason. And if we start lumping hoofballs, we're disrespecting those lads who gave their life for our club. And that's the bottom line. And I wish more people would say it, because it sounds very melodramatic. But the reality is, our club, and what Sir Bobby Charlton has always said about this club, is that we had a tragedy back in 1958 where one of the most exciting teams the world's ever created was decimated by a plane crash, and we came back from that, and we've won European trophies, and we've always tried, as Sir Alex Ferguson said, to do justice to that team and what Sir Matt Busby built. We are now hoofing the ball to the Belgian Peter Crouch. That does not do justice to what this club has always been about, the United way, the attacking way, the risk-taking way. It's a bloody joke what's going on at our club at the moment, but this is happening because we have got American people who've got no interest in Manchester United Football Club, who bought us on debt and just want to make money out of us. And that's all fine and well. It never should have, I blame the person who sold him to him. It was a disgrace. We've also got a manager who is so up his own backside, he's no interest in what the club is that supports him. All he wants them to do is call him the special one, and his style of football does not befit Manchester United. And we've got players who are more interested in themselves and making money and getting out of the club when the going gets tough than wearing that shirt. Everybody is culpable. Everybody is culpable apart from the fans, because we get what this club is all about. And they're all culpable. The board are to blame, the manager is to blame, and the players are to blame, because if any one of them sat back and thought what this club actually means and what it's all about, they wouldn't give a shit about how much they earn, what the shirt number is, whether people call them the special one anymore, what the bottom line is in dividends. They'd be like, this club must play a certain way, and they must be the club that everybody looks to. And we are far, far, far from that at the moment. And that is the sad thing, because it feels like, as Manchester United fans, we are banging our head up against the brick wall at the moment, because and it's not even a brick wall, it's a steel wall. We've got owners who are going nowhere and won't do anything about the problems. We've got a manager who doesn't care about what this club is all about, and we've got players who don't want to play for the manager. So, some clubs have one thing, don't they? You look at Spurs, good manager, good team, but the board Levy doesn't want to really spend money. You look at Chelsea, Abramovich, a bit of a, gets rid of managers too easy. That sort of causes them an issue. You've got, well, I'm not going to say Man City, because they do quite well, don't they? You've got, so that's good examples, isn't it? Most clubs will have one, maybe if they're really unlucky, two issues. At Manchester United, we've got bloody three. How can we succeed? How can we be shocked that we're not in a title race again, when you think about a board that won't back a manager that won't back what the club's all about, and players that won't play for the manager? It's an absolute recipe for disaster, and I think that's what we're facing at the moment. No one wants to play for Jose. That's why it's so hard to sign talented players, says Breach69. Sell Fellaini, Martial, Chris Smalling, and buy Obi, Bale and Rodriguez, says Bavinda. How Perez runs Real Madrid, says Chinglan. Vote with your feet, says Mark Allen. I this sounds really, really naive for a fan channel that's, got quite a big community. We're a very big community, and I say we, anyone who's watching the show. But I'm clueless as to what we as fans actually can do, because I don't want to stop watching Manchester United games. I actually don't want to stop buying nice Manchester United tracksuits that I like, because I like wearing them. I don't agree with the gold and yellow scarves, because the gold and green scarves, because they didn't work. We're such a big club with such a major support that I don't think there's anything we can do. And I think that's why the Glazers just sit back and ignore all the hate. I don't think there is anything we can do. What we need is Manchester United people involved in Manchester United Football Club. That is what we need. And when we get that, then that would be helpful. I mean, to be honest with you, I think Tommy Jordake has just come out with the best comment I've ever seen by the club. That's the best way to do it. Now, weather. That's a very big thing to say, and I'm glad I'm talking about this later on in the show. And please do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. The board is killing this club from inside, says Miguel Garcia. What I would say is that, well, look, if United have got 1 million Manchester United fans, which they haven't, and every Manchester United fan put a tenner in, that's £10 million. That's not enough to buy Manchester United. But Manchester United have got more than 1 million fans. I would personally be happy to put £100 towards buying Manchester United. So 1 million fans, £100, £100 million, still not enough. So you need a massive amount of money and a massive amount of fans putting it in. But I don't know. Buy the club and then we'll start a fight between us, people, says Dean Kazabov. Exactly, as well. Buying the club doesn't mean that we wouldn't all disagree, because if we bought the club, there'd have to be a self-elected by a democratic vote who's going to run the club, because the fans couldn't do it. You'd have to have democratic process to appoint people like Gary Neville or whoever you wanted, because imagine if it was a fan-run club and everyone voted on everything. You'd want some people to buy Andy Carroll, some people would want Ronaldo. So, every club goes through a rough patch. United fans need to be patient, says Niwash. I think the problem is, Niwash, it's 6 years, and it's the third mistake this board has made. And the big thing that I always said about it was that I don't understand. Well, I do understand now, because they're not Manchester United fans, they're business people. But they've appointed 3 managers who are nothing to do with Manchester United. David Moyes, his style of play was never Manchester United. Van Gaal, another defensive coach, and Mourinho, another defensive coach. We've 3 managers since Sir Alex Ferguson, and we haven't appointed a manager that actually plays the Manchester United way. Can somebody just let me know in the live comments if their screen has suddenly gone very dark, because mine has gone really dark, and it was really, really good light, and I know it's getting dark here, but I can barely see myself. Yeah, it's gone dark for you lot. It's dark, yeah, that's fine, as long as it is. Let me see if I stand up and I can get a little bit more light. Yeah, there we go. Let's get up here. There we go. Let's take some of your comments. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes. I'm actually not at home for the next couple of nights, tonight and tomorrow night. So I'm just going to be doing them off my phone like I was in Mallorca. I wish I was in Mallorca. I'm not in Mallorca. I'm in southeast England. Get class of 92 in the club, says HGMGM. I think, to be honest with you though, I think the class of 92 are probably about as popular with Manchester United as the United stand is. I don't think there's very much chance of Ed Woodward or the board getting the class of 92 involved with Manchester United, to be honest with you. I swear Luke Shaw only has 1 year left on his contract, and this season is the chance to... Look, that's a really good comment as well from Abdullah. Luke Shaw, Ander Herrera, Juan Mata, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, De Gea at the moment, they've got 1 year left on their contracts, so they can go for free next summer. Again, another indication of what's going wrong at the moment. Do you think Keane would coach United? Gabriel Jesus says Mark Goldbridge has autism. I actually don't, but so what if I do? So what? Have you got a problem with somebody who has? You absolute cretin. Great show again, Mark, says Price Sansom. I would put £100 in to help buy the club, says Mark Allen. I'd personally put £1,000 in. If enough people did it, I'd match it. Board don't give a damn. Boycott Old Trafford, then they will understand our value. Trust me, says Mahul Sahi. Can't believe well, that's a nonsense. And gigs to United near future as manager, says Kunal Sankar. I don't think they would. I don't think the current board would give it to Giggsy, whether it's till the end of the season or not. I don't think they would. I don't think the relationship's that good between them at all. Our club is being ruined by mercenaries, says Mike D. Well, it always was. You know what? I'm not. Look, this isn't a new thing for me or many Manchester United fans. I'm not opposed to the Glazers or Redwood or anything like that, because this thing that we say has been being said for over a decade. It's nothing new. Even when Sir Alex Ferguson was winning Premier League titles, United fans were saying the Glazers are just sucking the club dry. Sir Alex Ferguson used to say it. There's no value in the market, and we'd still win a title because he'd grind out a Premier League title with people like Cleverley and Anderson in the midfield. But the reality is that the investment wasn't there. So they've been doing this for a long, long time. Even when we were successful, a lot of United fans were saying, the Glazers are a bad thing for the club. They've always been a bad thing. It's not because things are going bad that people are saying that. They've always been a bad thing. And they're a simplistic bad thing because they're not Manchester United people. They bought the club as a business proposition. They bought it on debt and they bleed the club dry. And that's what they do. We have a bunch of calculators instead of true football men, says Keep Metal Alive. Thanks for that contribution, mates. And Raiola is ruining this club, says Jazzy Now. You know what though? What I would say about that is, think about this for a moment. Jose Mourinho's lost the dressing room because Paul Pogba doesn't like him, because Paul Pogba is the focal point of the dressing room. And Paul Pogba is run by Mino Railoa. So therefore, by default, Mino Railoa runs Manchester United. What a sad, embarrassing state of affairs. And I tell you what, I hope Manchester United have learned one thing from this. Never, ever, ever buy a player for Mino Railoa again. What did Sir Alex Ferguson call him? A shitbag. They should have took notice of the greatest sporting manager that's ever been. And I personally think, as excited as I was about bringing Paul Pogba back, we maybe should have looked at why he left. He left because he was greedy, because his agent's greedy, and he couldn't be patient to stay at the greatest club in the world. We came back because we gave him a load of money, and now they want to go again. It's not good, is it? Anyway, please do drop a like on the video, everybody. I'm losing light, so I'm going to get off. But thanks everyone for watching, and I shall speak to you tomorrow. But give your comments below. If you're not watching live or you are watching live, I would like to see everybody at least who's been watching live, because you can leave your comments below now. You don't have to wait for the video to finish. You can just go underneath the video and put your comments in. Can everybody just put a comment in, whether it's a couple of sentences or a little bit more, what you think about the Pogba situation and what you would do? Because in summary, I would not let him go. I think his behaviour has been disgusting, not condoning what Raiola has said, but I would not give him what he wants, which is to be sold. He wins, Raiola wins, and we lose if Pogba goes. Don't give him what he wants, make him stay. Give us your thoughts below. Thanks for watching.